We're talking actors and directors who put on the shows.
We're talking playwrights and designers who you'll want to know.
From the very first rehearsal to the final curtain call.
We might be off Broadway, but we're talking about it all.
'Cause we're two local gals
with global pals. It's everything, everything, everything theater.
with Benita
And Ellen. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Everything Theater podcast, the podcast where we talk about...
Pretty straightforward, right? Everything theater. Hi there. I'm Benita Zahn.
And I'm Ellen Cribbs.
And hey, we got here at the right time. We are recording this on the first day of standard time, which I wish we would just stay with.
I know,
You know,
yeah.
I hate the back and forth. I'm never ready for the change. Are you?
I'm never ready. Well, I used to enjoy getting an extra hour, and then with little kids, they don't care. And so my 2-year-old was up at 4 a.m. and there was no convincing her to go back to sleep today. So,
Oh, no.
yeah.
In a way, change becomes the backdrop for our conversation today. I'll call her playwright, but she bills herself, Colin bills herself as a multidisciplinary artist.
Mhm.
And she has penned a play, Psalm 21, Releasing Religion. I should point out, welcome, Dee. It's great to have you with us.
Thank
And
you.
also, actress extraordinaire. Angelique is with us, Angelique Powell, and you have seen her on pretty much every stage in the Capital Region. So it's a delight to have both of you. And you've got a show coming up, Psalm 21, Releasing Religion, that you penned. It opens on the 15th at Creative Action Unlimited, and there'll be a talk back that day. And it's, when the write-up is a daughter of a Haitian pastor, and talks about faith and trauma and the impact on one's life. And it's part poetry, part memoir. All right, Dee, we set you up. Take the ball and run. What do we need to know about why you wrote this piece?
Well, the play is called Psalm 91. And
I wrote more. I
it's
made my own head note.
there are a lot of songs. But the play is called Psalm 91. I wanted to and it's autobiographical. But it's also a part of my life that I've shared in individual poems over time, but never in like a holistic way, never as holistically as this. This play covers much of the period of time before I even came to the Capital Region, but it also dives into traumatic experiences and my questions of faith. So it's a really personal play, but it also, I think, engages with topics that impact a lot of people. And so for me, it felt like the right time to be able to share this story and to share it in the way that I'm sharing it. It's not an easy story to tell, and I've definitely dipped my toe in the telling of it, but not as completely as this.
Sharing of yourself is a challenge. I'm sorry, Ellen, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, because I think I feel as a writer as well, it's one thing to put something on a piece of paper, but then to get it up on stage and having actors live it, breathe it, really bring it to life. Tell us a little bit about that experience and the vulnerability of having it be such a personal story up there.
Well, I knew to tell the story, I would have to surround myself with people who could support the creation of it, putting it on its feet. Also, I felt that I needed to have people in the room who care for me and not just the art of it. And so I'm really happy I got to work with Michael Kennedy, in the writing process, and we met every week, mostly every week during the summer to talk through my writing progress and questions that I was exploring, or ideas that I was thinking about for how the play would unfold. Um, and then the casting is just perfect. We have like the perfect cast for um, both of those things that I really needed. Was I needed folks who would be able to really understand what the roles were, but also people who could be support for me in the room as well. So, and I got all of that. So I'm really happy that um, for such a tough subject, I all the pieces just aligned for me to be able to create it in this way.
What appealed to you about the role, Angelique?
Honestly, if I'm going to be completely honest telling this story, I'm definitely not going to spin this into something that it's not, and have this really, just like a wonderful answer on and thoughtful answer on how I arrived at deciding to play this role. I was out at an event, and like all of you are very much aware that I have an insane schedule, and it has only gotten more insane with, marriage and two bonus babies. And we now have a puppy who is so mad at me that he's not in the room with me right now. And so I have become far more discerning, certainly, and have to take roles that speak to me. So that's a great question, Benita, except that in this particular circumstance, I happen to be out an event and I see my really beautiful friend, D. Colin, who is a multidisciplinary artist, come to me and tell me, hey, I'm mounting a play and I need you to be in it. And I looked at her and I said, okay. And that was it. I asked no questions, and Dee waited with bated breath for the text message that was going to be like, hey, so I said that thing and I didn't really think about that I have this going on and this going on right now. And it never came because there was just this overwhelming sense that I had to do this.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know. And I would say that, and I'm okay. I'm comfortable in existing in the I don't know of it, because this play is about divinity, right? And so I think that you hear Psalm 91, releasing religion, and you may think that this play is about moving on from divinity. And that's not what it's about. It's just about reshaping maybe what divinity looks like and spirituality looks like to you.
Yeah, I'm glad Angelique said that, because honestly, this whole process has kind of been like that. And I know it does say releasing religion, but the whole process has felt very divine, like the universe is moving things. And I just didn't have that much resistance. It was like, I'm terrified of this. And I feel like, everyone I asked, it was just like, yes, and I got yeses before anyone knew what it was about.
So Jean-Remy Monet, Remy to the theater
Yeah,
community, is
yeah,
in the
Remy
show.
didn't know.
Right, and Remy's
new.
Haitian. But Remy
Aaron
comes
didn't
from,
know.
he's Haitian.
Yes.
He brings that piece. How important was that for what you crafted?
Well, Remy is a longtime friend of mine, and I've been on stage with Remy since before Black Theater Troupe was called Black Theater Troupe,
Yeah,
back in
Soul
the day
Rebel.
when it was Soul Rebel. So we have a long relationship, and I, again, because I wanted people in the room who already care, it felt right for Remy to play the voice of my dad. I couldn't tell the story without the voice of my dad. And originally I was writing it as a one-woman show. And then Michael encouraged me to listen for different voices that I could engage. And then that's when the other characters' voices started to pop up. And as a preacher's kid, it was like, oh, of course, I would have the preacher, the preacher's voice somewhere in the play. So for me, it was never a question of who would play that. It was always Remy in my mind.
And if any locals know of Remy Monet, amazing man, and but he hasn't been on stage in a hot minute. And I know that I had a conversation with him about how much he missed actually performing. So I'm really excited to actually see him on stage. I've never seen him actually perform.
Well, you're not going to actually see Remy on stage.
Oh,
Yeah, we have the voice of Remy in the play, but not Remy on stage.
oh, all right. We're gonna have to wait a little bit longer, but at least we'll have the
A
voice.
little bit longer.
Indeed, this is an interesting, first of all, it's a fascinating piece. But at this time, at this juncture in our country, where religion and its role has triggered so many discussions, where do you see your show fitting in to that discussion? Well, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's a standalone, but
Um, it's interesting you asked that question because when I first started writing, I was reading a lot of books and I was doing a lot of research in order to contextualize my experience with Christianity. And I really thought the play would be more political, or in the sense of like talking about what's happening right now or how um, in some respects we've gotten to where we're at, especially from um, a perspective of like evangelicals. And the more I was writing, the more I realized, oh, this isn't the play is not the job of the play is not to tell that story. The job of the play is to tell my story within that context. And but the research was good for me because it helped me also understand some of the changes within the evangelical church and contextualize things that I just didn't know about. I grew up in the church, doesn't mean that I really understood everything that was presented to me or doctrines that I was learning or why we believed the way that we believed. And so I had I had I had some intentions of including some things, but then really in the process of writing the play, this was really about me re-envisioning what faith looks like for me and raising questions, not necessarily answering all of them.
Angelique, you're nodding. Did it have an impact on you and your faith?
I would say it didn't so much as validate where I was at with my own faith, right? The story is extremely relatable in a lot of ways, I think, and will be to a lot of different people. And so, you know, when I think about the question that you just posed, I would say that if it had any statement on anything, it's that there's so much intersectionality in our identities. We are not all just one thing, right? So I am not just a Christian or just Black or just a woman or just an actor. I am all of those things and many more. And all of these things inform my perception, my perspective, how I vote. These are all things that have an immense impact on who I am or who Dee is, right? I have traumas. I have amazing experiences. They all inform those things as well. And so I would say that the play, instead of trying to speak to something specific politically, where we have so much going on, right? It is more of like coming home to the reality that there's so much intersectionality in our identities, and that it can't all just be this or this, because how could it be if I'm not?
It's interesting. I had a conversation yesterday with Jessica Layton, who was a colleague of mine at News Channel 13, and we sing together, and we're back together. But she's not only an anchor, a news anchor anymore. She's begun, she's a media trainer and other things, and we had that very discussion. And I said, the term now, and I want you two to share your thoughts on it. The term now is to be a multi-hyphenate. Is that outside construct, or is that part of what you're sharing and embracing? That just what you said, Angelique, that we're many things. It's not I am, but rather I am.
I mean, I think, especially in recent years, we've been living in a very polarized society, and it's like one or the other, and there's very little room for nuance and layers, and there isn't one group of people who are a monolith. Like even under the umbrella of Christianity, it's not a monolith. There's so many different forms of being a Christian, different denominations, and same for me being Black. There's we're not a monolith either, and then to be a woman, also not a monolith. To be Haitian, still not a monolith. There's even under the different identities that I claim for myself, there's so many different layers, and me telling my story is just one layer of each of those things intersecting, right? But at the same time, it's in the telling of those stories that we're able to understand more of each other. And I think that when we create art, it's not about, one thing. This is the absolute. There are no absolutes. We're all searching for what we're searching for, right? And so different parts of this play is going to speak to different people, and because we're all different, and we're coming to it from different spaces, and that's okay. And once we realize that's okay, I think it's just easier to have conversations about topics like religion and politics and identity, and because it doesn't have to be so sometimes when it's one or the other, it becomes an extreme conversation, and it really doesn't have to be.
And isn't that the beauty of theater, right? That it sparks those conversations, and people who may be very, very different see the same piece and gather different things from it, and it gives them a starting point to talk, right? I think, we talk on the show a lot about programming for certain companies, and it's great to do like the comedy that's just entertainment and fun, and it makes everyone feel good at the end of the night. But it's so important, I think, that these pieces exist that do spark those conversations on the car ride home, right? That really
Absolutely.
get people into it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say, that is a part of accessibility that we don't necessarily always talk about when we're talking about theater accessibility and arts accessibility. But the job of the artist is to make every single person in that room, even if they don't have that experience, relate to the humanity of the person on stage, so that they are capable of meeting that dialogue and that conversation in a way that they wholly may not have been previously.
Is this one act? Or
Yeah.
one act?
In the way we're performing it now.
Yeah. But, there's a whole movement toward that. And my sense from reading a little bit about and now hearing more is that it needs to be without intermission.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It wouldn't be I mean, like I said, I was writing it as a one-woman show. So so I have a lot of lines. And to tell the story and to really dive in, I'm doing a lot of monologue work. And so it just wouldn't, I like my stamina on stage kind of requires it to be this way. Um, but it works, you know. Yeah.
Tell
Hearing
us
your story. No, go ahead. When we're not sitting next to each other, we should be able to cue off each other better.
I was just going to say, tell us a little bit about how this came to be. If our listeners look back in our past episodes, we've talked to Michael Kennedy from Creative Action to hear more about that wonderful company. So how did it come to be a creative action piece? Did Michael approach you about it? Did you approach Michael? How did that kind of structure work? And then how did it develop from when we said, okay, we're going to do this?
I was at Creative Action Unlimited for another event, and so at the end of that event, I went up to Michael and said, "Hey, I'm writing a play," even though I hadn't really started writing the play. I had like the idea, the premise, the things marinating in my mind of the play, but I hadn't like sat down and seriously wrote anything. And so I said, "Yeah, I'm writing a play. I want you to direct it." And Michael just was like, okay. It was, I mean, I wish I had like a more I don't know, more details to give you, but that's really like everything about this play has been kind of that.
Serendipity.
Yeah.
And Michael would have joined us, but she's on another project today.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So lest anyone think, but she also wanted to make sure you two had spotlight time. Where does it go from here? What do you, let me phrase it differently. You've got a talk back opening on the 15th
Mhm.
after the show. What are you looking or hoping? Do you have any um, doors you hope folks walk through or you get to walk through in hearing the response? Both of you.
Um, Generally speaking, when I create, I'm really there's two things I'm usually really interested in the art that I create, and one of them is change. So my work is deeply rooted in some form of activism, and the other one is healing. I really believe that the arts are a healing agent and can help transform both the artist and the audience. And so I think at the end of this, and talkbacks are only on Friday because stamina, right? um, but at the end of this, I hope that people leave thinking about ideas that aren't new, but in a different way. And I hope that whoever in the audience who has experienced anything similar to what I've experienced, I hope that it is um, a healing balm for them. And if they haven't worked through any of that trauma, I hope it is a first step into finding ways to address what they need.
Yeah. Yeah. I am entirely aligned with Dee, and the majority of the work that I pick is rooted in activism. And even if it's not immediately clear to the audience, that is its own form of activism in why I chose to represent that face or that voice, right? In order for folks to see people who look like me in just a totally human body, because we are humans, right? And we also laugh and just have comedic shows sometimes too, right? And I would say that for me, playing Our Lady of the Sick has been a healing balm for me, something that is lesser known to the broader community is that this past year has been extremely intense for me. I've been undergoing all sorts of testing. Over a year ago, I was getting back results from a bone marrow biopsy that I did mostly silently, right? Just like my immediate community knew exactly what was going on. And the results of that are that I have an autoimmune disease. And so in this character, Dee has curated is someone who is called Our Lady of the Sick, right? And identifies with being sick and broken and maybe not looking that way, though, and having the ability to heal others. And I would say that, having come through this journey and having never been looking the healthiest I've ever looked on the outside, and folks comment on that all the time, while simultaneously being the sickest I've ever been in my entire life. Because, there's all sorts of stuff that comes with autoimmune diseases, and having to constantly think about what I'm eating, how I'm exercising. Am I exercising too much? Am I exercising too little? Is this gonna be the thing that inflames every single one of my joints today? How do I manage my stress? All of these things that, being a human is a little bit more strategic than it used to be for me now. And I am also, for, I would say, the first time, I would say that I have always been someone who has been able to give joy and not necessarily have any of that left for me on the inside. And for the first time, I have so much of it on the inside to share with others on the outside, that I feel deeply like Our Lady of the Sick, right? Like, I'm super sick, and also really, really primed to heal others, and show them that it is possible.
One of the hardest things for people to do is be aware, because there is a responsibility that comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
So we choose not to be aware and slough it off. But you speak eloquently to that, Angelique.
Thank you.
And I'm sure, Dee, that's the undergirding poetry of Psalm 91.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
It's so many, I've had so many moments of affirmation, that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm writing exactly what I'm supposed to be writing. In the reading process, light bulbs go off, or in the writing, light bulbs, casting more light bulbs. Like, I've had this ongoing type of affirmation. And when Angelique shared that with me, I was like, I'm so grounded in what it is that is happening right now. And I'm excited, I'm terrified, but I'm welcoming it. And it's really beautiful to not only experience, and it's healing for me, just as a person, and as a survivor. I think that I've been trying to tell this story for the last 20 years, and I'm finally telling it. And it feels like the universe has given me a big hug, and it's kind of like a lift up to tell this story. And so I'm so grateful that um, I'm surrounded by the people that I'm surrounded by in order to do this work. But yeah, it's really something. It's deeper than serendipity. I think serendipity is like the surface of that, because it's that deep. Even for Angelique to be Our Lady of the Sick and have the story that she has, it's something I can't even fully describe. But I'm grateful for it aligning the way that it has.
You know, it's funny. I said I miswrote. It's Psalm 91. And in my mind, I saw Psalm 21. So I pulled it up. And it starts,
Mhm.
the king shall joy in thy strength.
Psalm 21 or
Yeah.
91?
Psalm 21 starts, king shall joy in thy strength.
Oh, so maybe you meant to say Psalm 21.
Maybe I did. So to take serendipity further,
Right.
I'm just saying, you know, it's funny how stuff works out, isn't it?
Mhm.
So the piece runs the 15th and 16th
Mhm.
at Creative Action Unlimited,
It's
Friday nights.
it's
What?
at the Art Center of the Capital Region, produced by
Okay.
Creative Action Unlimited, but at the Art Center of the Capital Region. And Creative Action Unlimited is the resident theater company now at the Art Center of the Capital Region. So it'll be at the Black Box Theater there.
And what's the location?
295 River Street. Don't quote me on the number, but it's on River
Troy.
Street in Troy.
It's by the circle.
It's in Monument Square. Yeah.
Monument Square. Square, circle, and we all see things, however. So it's the 15th and 16th, then the 22nd and 23rd. The
Mhm.
notes on the page, you're right, it's that I pulled $20. But if you really want to see this and there's an issue to come up with the funds, reach out to Creative Action Unlimited. And I think that's all I got. What do you got, Ellen?
Oh, I mean, this has been a very inspiring conversation. We have 4 minutes left. Any last thoughts about the piece you want our audience to know?
As much as I also want like people to feel inspired and moved, and if they are also survivors, to feel a sense of healing, or to be able to feel empowered on their healing journey. I really want folks to feel galvanized towards change. That a lot of the trauma that I've experienced was unnecessary. That it doesn't have to continue, and it doesn't have to be as common as it is. So that's I think that's the activism side of this work, is that I'm bringing awareness to something, and I want people to leave the room moved, but also leave the room with fire in their belly for change.
Beautiful. And on that note, I think we'll wrap it up for today. Thank you both so much for joining us today. This has been a wonderful conversation. And for our listeners, please go check it out. And we'll see you next time. I'm Ellen Cribbs.
And I'm Benita Zahn, Psalm 91, releasing Religion, Ladies Break a Leg. And
Thank you.
how exciting. Can't wait to hear more about your work, and always with you, Angelique. Be well, take care. See you next time, everybody.
Thank you so much for listening to the Everything Theater podcast. Special thanks goes out to Alice Grinling for our photography and Justin Friello for composing our amazing theme song. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to share your thoughts or what's going on in your theater community, you can reach out to us on social media or through our email at everythingtheaterpodcast@gmail.com. Till next time, it's everything, everything, everything.